It was a good week 13
Yes, it was.
in college football. Let's hit 3 games here and then we'll hit a couple more in winners and losers. Let's start with Indiana and Ohio State. The Buckeyes gave the Hoosiers a beatdown. 38-15 in Columbus. An incredible start for Indiana. You force the 3-and-out, then you go on an 11-play drive and score a touchdown, and Indiana had everyone's attention at that point. But Ohio State just too talented, too deep, and ultimately, Ted, Ohio State's defense just choked the life out of Indiana's offense. They couldn't do anything after that first drive of the game, essentially. Just
Yep.
a really impressive performance from Jim Knowles' group.
No doubt. When you are when you're the underdog and you're going on the road and you're not the more talented team, you have to play perfect. And Indiana got a 3-and-out to start the game and went right down the field and scored a touchdown. And it's like, okay, this is interesting.
And then they stuffed Ohio State on 4th and 1.
Stuffed them on, turned them over on downs, punted the ball out of there. But that's whenever the problem started. They had a fumble, but they did intercept it right back. It was still 7-7. But then, they mishandled the snap, right? And Ohio State scores a touchdown easily right before half. And, so Indiana takes it in down 14-7. Okay, not the worst thing. Come out, 3-and-out, punt it, punt return for a touchdown. And all of a sudden you're down 21-7. And just like we saw in our game, when you have the lead or you're down and you're not more talented and you become one dimensional against a team like Ohio State, not a good recipe.
I absolutely hate that the biggest play of this game was Indiana's punter not being able to just catch the damn football.
I know. Just brutal.
That sucked. No one wanted that.
Nope.
That's not how I want big games to be determined. Oh, the punter can't catch a perfect snap. Now, to Ohio State's credit, they cashed in on a massive mistake.
Yeah.
But God, I hated that. I was I was so pissed that that was such a large factor in the football game. I thought Will Howard was really solid, Ted.
Yeah. Yep. He made
I
some
thought
nice
that
plays.
he looked like a guy that was excited for that stage.
Yep.
And you combine that with the dominant performance from Ohio State's defense. I mean, Rourke had 68 yards passing.
Yeah. There was just nothing there. And yeah, Will Howard was super efficient, 22 of 26. And, all of the big name receivers got involved and man, they're super talented. They're really good. But all that being said, I still believe Indiana is a really good football team. I think their defense is really good, offense, uh, really good. Now I think the way that game unfolded, they weren't going to win. Ohio State was going to win that game, but the way it unfolded was a nightmare situation for Indiana to go in and win that game on the road. I think they're closer than what the final was, but Ohio State proved that they're definitively the better football team.
My reaction when the game ended was Indiana's out. They're out. They played one really good team. They got smacked. The committee, I've always felt like the committee's just waiting to be able to drop them because it's Indiana. There's no history there. It's not a big draw. Like there's a business component to this whole thing. I was just sitting there right when this game ended going, they're going to put a 2 or maybe even a 3-loss SEC team in over Indiana. And then there was chaos. And somehow, some way, even though they went to Columbus and got smacked, Indiana's sitting pretty, man. They're in a good spot. I think Indiana's going to go to the college football playoff.
Think so?
I think so. I think they're going to be an 11-1 team. And with how things unfolded in the Big 12 and the SEC yesterday, I think Indiana's going to get the benefit of the doubt. I think they're in.
Yeah, because the chaos still isn't over. And I know that there may not be as many big games as there was this weekend. I haven't really even looked ahead at the schedule yet, but who knows what's going to happen? I mean, 2 days ago, it's like, man, it's going to be hard picking the 12 teams. And then today, it's like, do we really need a 12-team playoff? It's like,
Who are the 12 going to be?
yeah, it's crazy, but good. I like it like this, man. There's I mean, we'll get to it, but there's still a lot of people fighting for a playoff spot. A bunch of people.
If you want to tell me Ohio State's the best team in the country and that they're going to win the national title, I can't tell you you're wrong. I still think Georgia on its bet, like when Georgia's at its best, I think Georgia's the best team in the country. But Ohio State looked pretty good.
They did. I'm with you, but to your point, I'm looking at the AP top 25. Ohio State's number two. I'm not so sure. I wouldn't pick the number 15 team to beat them, Ole Miss. And I know that we'll get to that, but it's just it's a crazy year that I just don't. I know I've talked about this, but it's incredibly more even than it's been in a long time, which I like.
Let's get to it. Ole Miss went to Gainesville, and the Gators got it done. They win it 24-17. And if you were watching the end of this game, you were going, oh my gosh, Billy Napier and the Florida offense, they have mismanaged the clock. How could they leave Ole Miss so much time? Jaxson Dart, they're going to go score. It's going to become a huge talking point. And no, that did not happen.
He's going to throw an interception into triple coverage. It's like, what the hell is he doing?
What was that? They had two chances. Jaxson Dart had two chances to go and tie the game. And maybe, who knows? You never know with Kempin. Maybe they go for two and they win it. But he had two chances to go and win the game. And the first one was an awful decision. Such a bad decision that Juice Wells, the wide receiver it was intended for, was visibly shocked that the ball came his way. And then the second one, I don't know, miscommunication, a super inaccurate throw. I'm not really sure what went on there, but just Jaxson Dart had the chance to be the guy, and it was a disaster on the last two drives for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's Florida has really turned things around. Their record's not gonna impress anyone or anything, but man, when they got their quarterback healthy and ready to go, they're a tough out, and Lagway is going to be a problem in the future.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Donovan McNabb at Syracuse.
Huh. Okay.
I think it has a lot to do with the build, but that dude can absolutely rip it.
Yeah.
There are a couple throws in this game, and I said the same thing last week. There are a couple throws in this game where I just went, oh. I mean, his arm talent is, and remember, he's banged up. Like his
Yeah.
mobility is not where it normally would be. And still, I mean, they run a slot fade down in the red zone, and he just throws this back shoulder ball that it just could not have been a better throw. He has a handful of throws, it feels like every single game now, where you just go, that's the throw of the first pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Like he has that. I think that's the ceiling for him as the first pick of the draft. If Florida fans, you think about where they were in September, mentality wise, to where they're at now, not only with the head coach, but with where this thing is headed. I mean, my goodness, a lot can change in 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, they had to come out and let everyone know that the head coach is their guy. And really, since that point forward, it feels like that's kind of been the turning point and things that they've started playing better since then. I know there's other stuff involved, but yeah, it's been a wild turnaround for them.
Credit to that defense. Obviously, everyone's talking about Lagway because he looks like he's just going to be an absolute star. But Ole Miss could not run it consistently. That Florida defensive line did a really nice job, made Dart uncomfortable throughout the game. And they went, I thought, a couple of the biggest plays in the game. They went to the JJ Pegues Wildcat package, and it got stuffed twice. And Ole Miss didn't get points. I think one was in the first quarter and the other one was in the third. Why the big fella is bouncing it out to the perimeter, I'm not entirely sure. Thought that was an interesting choice, but those were huge plays. And now you look at what it means for Ole Miss, Ted. It feels like their CFP chances are dead. It feels like Dart's no longer going to get a Heisman invite with how that thing ended. All kinds of questions about the wide receivers. I mean, how many balls did they drop in this game? Trey Hurst got hurt again. It just, a week ago, it was a very reasonable conversation to have surrounding whether or not this team was the best team in the country. Oh, how things can change in a week.
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, it's crazy, and I think it's different in this conference than it is anywhere else. I mean, one of the teams that was a shoe-in, most people thought for the playoff, loses to a team that was below 500 in conference play. And I mean, same thing with Alabama. You know, it's top to bottom, incredibly tough.
Only other thing from that game, Walter Nolan is a dude. That dude, Ole Miss did not get it done, but it wasn't that guy's fault. He was everywhere in that game.
You know, the problem for Ole Miss is that is a senior heavy football team. I mean, they're almost their entire defense are seniors or guys that are going to the league. So it's going to be like they poured a ton of money into it. It's going to be a tough bounce back for them.
A ton of money.
Yep.
How unfortunate. One other game we got to hit. Game of the day. Texas A&M Auburn was just an absolute roller coaster, man.
Wild.
Ends up Auburn gets the win 43-41 in 4 overtimes. And you just look at how the game started. Could not have been better for Auburn. Just massive explosive plays in the passing game to Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith. Yeah, they pick Marcel Reed off. They cash in on that. It's 21-0 Auburn with like 13 minutes to go in the second quarter. It's a bloodbath. And then A&M goes on this long drive and just kind of stabilizes things. And then it felt like slowly but surely, here comes the Auburn collapse.
Here it comes.
And, first drive of the second half, Noah Thomas goes and makes it amazing touchdown catch. I think Auburn went 3 and out then, and then a 73-yard slant to Noah Thomas, and oh my God, we're tied at 21. But to Auburn's credit, they stopped the bleeding at that point. But once they blew that lead, like no part of me thought Auburn was going to win this football game,
I know. And even like the way the game ended, like Auburn had a chance to go win it. It just couldn't get out of their own way. They kicked the field goal to go to overtime, and then overtime is just like you would. That's not how you would draw it up if you're Auburn.
I, when you look at what do you think about the overtime format? Am I am I the only one that kind of enjoys it? Maybe I'm on an island here because I understand people want to see the guys actually play football. I get that. Want to see you have to. I personally would like to see you have to drive the football to score points in overtime. But the suspense of the 2 point conversion off is kind of awesome.
Yeah, the only thing that I would like, the only reason I think it's dumb is because it's supposed to speed things up, but they switch ends of the field after each. You know what I'm saying? It just like you take all this time going back and forth. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. I just think they tried to fix something that wasn't broken, you know,
Because of one game that went to like 7 overtimes.
because of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Was it
And
was it them in Arkansas or
LSU,
LSU? Yeah, it's LSU.
but you look at the overtime, both teams scored touchdowns, both teams get field goals, and then we're into the 2 point conversion off. And I feel so bad. Who was that? That was Daniels that dropped it, right? The running
I
back, Amari Daniels, and he had done some really nice things in that game, but Keandre Lambert Smith goes up and makes an awesome play on the football to get Auburn the lead.
That
And
was an
then
incredible catch.
those two guys, Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert Smith, if there's a better duo at wide receiver in the country, someone let me know about it.
I mean, that's a
Those
perfect
dudes
example.
are freaks.
It's a perfect example of this conference because like Auburn is they're a 5-6 football team down towards the bottom, and like they may have the best like wide receiver running back combo in the conference.
They may have the best wide receiver running back combo in the country.
I know, it's crazy.
I mean,
And they're a
Charquis Hunter's a really good player.
5-6 football team.
Yeah, but just a brutal drop for Amari Daniels on the trickeration play there for Texas A&M. They had it. You can say, "Hey, why are you dialing up that play?" The bottom line is it worked perfectly. The ball hit him right in the chest and he dropped it, and that's how you lose the game.
Did you see the offensive pass interference call in the second overtime?
What did you think of that?
I I didn't think it was. I thought it was a bad call. Um, I thought Hugh Freeze was going to pass out and die on the sideline. He was so pissed off. It that is one of the most angry I've ever seen a coach.
I
What did you think? Was it a good call?
I didn't like it. I
Yeah.
usually in an overtime setting, I kind of lean towards whether it's right or wrong. Like, hey, let's let these guys play. Let's let a little contact go. But I mean, they got to a third and fourth overtime. The
Yeah.
teams got to decide the game. I love it? No, I did not.
It felt like that was going to be the game ender though, because they had to settle for that long field goal, and luckily they got out of there. So that was fun. We were watching it while we were doing the post game up in the booth. It was cool.
The way that this game unfolded, Auburn getting the win sets the table for one hell of a matchup between Texas and Texas A&M. It is clear. It is defined. Georgia is going to play in the SEC championship game. And the winner of Texas A&M will be their opponent. I love it. I absolutely love it. Like there's nothing else to figure out. That's
Right.
it. Georgia versus the winner of a game that has not been played for a very long time. One team coming into that one with a little more confidence than the other. But Awesome. Awesome. Win and you go play for an SEC title. That's
Can I ask you a question? Um, let's say
Is
A&M.
Tennessee the biggest winner of the weekend because they don't have to play in the SEC championship game and they're basically a lock for the playoff? They do have Vandy left, but yes,
Yeah.
Tennessee was a big winner of the weekend.
Okay. If A&M beats Texas and it's A&M in Georgia, it, is there
Is there a chance that Texas gets in and A&M doesn't if they lose the game?
right?
No. I don't
You don't think so?
I think the committee is going to set a precedent, especially since Georgia beat the absolute hell out of Texas. I like to think that the committee's going to set a precedent, and who knows how long we have this structure. But I like to think the committee is going to set a precedent that you're not punished for playing in your conference championship game.
Now A&M's a three-loss team already, though.
I know, but if they just beat Texas to go and then they play a decent game against Georgia and they're a four-loss team, we just watched the two teams play.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. It may not be, but I think it's that simple.
It's almost like if you make the Big Ten or SEC championship game, you're also in the playoff. They almost have to give you that.
That's how it feels like it's going to play out to me. And we'll see what happens in the ACC.
Yeah.
It's it really is like the 12 team playoff rules. I still
Yeah.
wish we were part of the picture,
I know.
but it's going to be like the debate, the discourse around this here in a couple weeks is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. It is. I agree.